Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. This is the report for April 20th, and we're going to start off with a public service announcement from Rob Cloutier out at the Bass Hole. Take it away, Rob.
Hey Rob, what's this public service announcement you've been talking about?
Well, all you guys that love to fish those Don Ivino worms, the spade tail, the reapers, the leeches, the straight tails, discontinued. They're no longer available. I've got a bunch of them at the shop, and you better get them while you can because they won't last long.
All right, so if you're not stocked up on your Don Ivino worms, make sure you get in the Bass Hole and stock up on them. It's your last chance. I have not been a personal friend of Don's. I've talked to him through the years, and I'll tell you, if you don't know Don, one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet in bass fishing. Great bait maker. His worms catch fish. They have for the last 50 years. So if you don't have those worms, make sure you stock up on them, and let's wish Don a happy retirement. I want to talk about a tournament coming up on Don Pedro, and this is the 50th annual Night Team Classic put on by the Modesto Ambassadors, and this is up at Don Pedro, June 3rd and 4th. I don't talk a lot about tournaments on other bodies of water other than the Delta, but I wanted to give these guys a heads up because all of the proceeds are going to veterans, youth, and special needs folks out there, and I think we can all get behind that. So if you're down in that area, make sure you check out that tournament. If you're going to fish it, stop into Central Valley Bait and Tackle down in Modesto. Get your gear out there. Support your local bait shops. If you have any questions, call Henry at 209-324-2718. That's the 50th annual Night Team Classic, Don Pedro, June 3rd and 4th. With that, let's get right into the Delta report, and we'll cover a little bit of stripers today, but we're going to be focusing primarily on largemouth bass once again. Water conditions out here, really nice, 65 degrees. It's holding at about 65 degrees. You might find 67, 68 in some areas, but nice, steady 65-degree water temperatures out here. The central delta is 5 feet of visibility. If you get down south, it's still cloudy. I know Discovery Bay, they're reporting some cloudy water down there, but primarily we're getting about 5 feet of viz, and it's getting a little better every day. We have had some wind, nothing that, us Delta guys can't take care of. If you're in a light boat without power poles or spot lock, you might have to search around for some protected area, but for the guys that are out there hardcore bass fishing, it's just something that we're going to have to deal with probably for the rest of spring and into summer. Okay. Water conditions are great out here. We'll talk a little bit about stripers. A school has moved into, a small school of fish has moved into Frank's track. They're not big fish, a lot of undersized fish, but at least they're fish, and people are starting to pick up stripers. Most of the keeper fish are just keeper size to 5 pounds, but they're in the system, and they're being caught with a variety of techniques. The debris that's been in the river the last couple of weeks has really dropped off, so if you're out there striper fishing, you can actually do some trolling and some bait fishing without getting grass and debris all over your line. I have been seeing a lot of the local guys here at Paradise Point fishing the mouths of the sloughs coming into the channel. We're talking about from the Calaveras River up to, say, the McCollum. I've actually witnessed them catch a few fish, and I know most of these guys are drifting live bluegill. So if you can come out here and catch a few live bluegill and go out and fish the tributaries into the channel, you got a good chance of catching a few fish. I've also seen a lot more activity in the Old River, Middle River area of guys down there fishing stripers when I'm running around. Not a whole lot of activity, but things are happening. I talked to Alan Fong. Alan went out bait fishing for stripers last week, and when Alan's bait fishing for stripers, it can't be great, but Alan caught a few fish in that 5-pound range. His partner hooked a big fish that they did not catch, but they're in there. He was fishing up north around Garza Bend. He did say that the guys up around the Feather River, and I know that's really not the San Joaquin, but they got to come through the San Joaquin, Sacramento to get up there. They're catching some big fish up there. So there are fish in the system. It's not great guns, but we will keep an eye on that striper fishing, and as they come in, we'll talk more and more about stripers. Let's get into the largemouth bass. I know that's what everybody's thinking about. River's in good shape. I'm calling it pre-spawn. A lot of guys are finding a few fish in the shallows that they're kind of fishing for bed fish, but all in all, the big slug of spawn and spawning fish are not in the shallows right now. I'm predicting that the next full moon, which is coming in a couple weeks, and the full moon after that, that's when most of the real productive spawning is going to happen. There are a few fish in there spawning, but I'd say less than 10% of the entire population of the bass are not on beds. There's not a lot of small bucks running around. You don't see a lot of big females cruising. I've been doing a lot of scouting, and I'm seeing a lot of just prime spawn water. It's, you know, because of this year's rain and the flush, there's a lot of clean bottom. I think it's going to be a great spawn year, but it's just not totally happening right now. I'm not seeing a lot of, like I say, first thing that will happen, we'll start seeing a lot of bucks in tight running around the beds. There are a lot of bucks being caught, which is a good sign because it's showing that they're staging, they're coming up, they want to spawn, and it's going to happen. Okay, real quick, I do want to talk about the Western Bass Shootout that was in Sacramento last week, but I want to give you guys an idea of what the average weekend guys have been doing in the reports that I've been getting. A lot of PBs coming in, so those big fish are staging up, and if you find one that's ready to go, you put a bait in front of it, you're liable to get a personal best. You can catch big fish this time of year. Most of the fish that are coming in are bucks, and the bags are getting better and better. Not big bags, not a lot of fish, but everybody is being more and more consistent. Two baits or two styles of bait that you want to throw, and this goes for, I don't care if you're a professional or you're a weekend angler. Plastic worms have been by far the best bait for me in the last couple weeks, and I think for most people that are fishing. Stick to your basic colors: black with blue flake, green pumpkin, and purple, and set them up in a variety of different techniques, from drop shot, T-rigs, wacky, weightless. Make sure you're able to fish, you know, tules and rock and vegetation. So that's why you want to, you know, use the same bait, worms, but with different techniques. The other techniques that you want to have some fast moving baits, either crankbaits, chatterbaits, or spinner baits. Rob Cloutier has been pretty consistent the last couple of weeks with the faster moving baits, especially spinner baits. Again, dark colors, and you also want to add a white with some chartreuse on some of these moving baits. But Rob's key to success is fishing them extremely slow, letting them get to the bottom and just working them back just so those blades are moving, so you're getting a little thump on them. And that's the way Rob has been catching a lot of his fish. The other thing that I'll talk about, punching dead hyacinth has been something that some people are doing. Maybe you might want to leave that for the more experienced guys out there. Don't forget frogging and topwater, but keep the topwater stuff on a short leash. If you come in and you've got some really prime looking frog water, make sure you throw that frog a little bit, but keep it on a short leash. Don't try to force anything. It's not quite happening yet. Could be any day. That water's 65 degrees. We should be getting a better topwater bite any day now. So with that, let's talk about the shootout. 50 of the best anglers out here from a number of different tournament organizations. I was a little bit skeptical about guys bringing fish from the Delta, putting them in their boats, hauling them up to Sacramento, and having a return truck bring them back. I will say that congratulations to all those anglers that fished it. They took great care of the fish, and every fish that came out of live well was alive and kicking and in good shape, and I'm very confident that they got put back in the truck and put back in the Delta alive. So I want to commend the tournament organization and the anglers for being really, you know, taking care of those fish. I don't want to talk about how they did a whole lot, but I will say Ken Ma won the tournament with 61 pounds. He had a 27-pound bag the first day, and I think the third day he wound up with 13 pounds. Around 25th place, and these are the best 50 guys, you know, in the West. They were eking out about, you know, 15 pounds. That's tough fishing out here for this time of year, and everybody was saying the same thing. You know, they were fishing hard. They did everything they could to put fish in the boat, and the fishing was all over the board. They caught fish on everything I talked about, crankbaits, punching. Worms were a big deal. Drop shot, and I want to talk about drop shot in two of the reports that I have for this week. One, Matt Nadal, who was out, one of the competitors in the tournament, happened to be fishing next to Matt out at Oakley Island last week in practice, and Matt got a fish that was about, I'd say, 8.5 pounds. He allowed me to take a picture of it for him. I got a nice picture of it. Unfortunately, Matt, if you got that picture, send it to me. I'll put it up on the report next week. But Matt was drop shotting, and I just want to throw that in there. Matt had a heck of a day in practice. He had a 35-pound day, and I think he caught a lot of those on drop shot. He got a double digit. He got a couple of fish in that 8-9 pound class. That pattern did not hold out for Matt. I think the first day he had about 18 pounds. So, you know, again, just showing a good angler, had a good plan in place like all 50 anglers did, and those plans just didn't happen for most of the anglers. But Matt caught his, you know, he was catching big fish on drop shot. And again, just think about that. You don't have to be throwing anything special out here to get big fish. When you guys come out here, throw the worms, drop shots, small worms, Cincos, things we've all been talking about, and you can catch the biggest fish of your life out here. Don't expect that it's going to be fast fishing, but it's getting more and more consistent. And before I end the report this week, I'll get back to the tournament. You know, it was not a tournament that had a big turnout as far as people coming out and supporting the vendors, and there was about 15 vendors there. Stealth Sticks was out there, CNC Baits, a couple of boat manufacturers, Simpson College was out there, Rob from the Bass Hole was out, and you know, there wasn't a ton of people around, but the tournament was very well run, and I think they're going to try to make this an annual event again. I don't like to see a ton of tournaments popping up, but maybe having one big event and not having a bunch of qualifiers, you know, 15 or 20 different organizations having so many events. Just having that one event might be helpful to us, but it was a really well-run tournament, and if they do have it next year, I know they're going to do some tweaking on it, and it was a fun event to be at. So next year, check that event out, the Wild West or the Bass Shootout here, whatever it's called, and go out and support the local vendors that are out there. Anyhow, thank you guys for watching. If you get out and catch a few fish this week, or even if you don't catch a few fish, send me a report. And it's happening, guys. It's time to be out on the Delta. Go out and have fun, and see you guys on the water. Go.